There is no nobility in poverty. I have been a rich man and I have been a poor man, and I choose rich every fucking time.
Welcome everybody to the Money Time Podcast. I'm your host, Adrian Hernandez, and today I have with me the one and only Patrick Johnson, my brother from another mother. What's up, dog?
Right on, right on. Thank you for having me.
Dude, I'm stoked, man. Thank you for coming on the show. Today's an interesting show, guys, because, not only are we going to talk about how Patrick is making money, but we're going to talk about some hurdles, right? Let's just call them hurdles and challenges, right, that you had to go through, that we all have to go through to get to where you're at.
Right.
And before we even get started, right, I just got to let the audience know, like, dude, you inspire me beyond belief. Like, not just from a business person, but from a husband, right, to a dad, just to who you are. Like, I just want to let you know you're a very inspirational human being outside of just being buddies.
Dude,
so
thank you, Adrian. Yeah. And likewise, my energy picks up every time I'm around you, so
let's go.
Definitely inspired by you. Favorite YouTuber, favorite Instagrammer, it's Adrian Hernandez. All right.
Let's go. I didn't pay him to say that either.
He didn't. I'm the biggest fan, man, and I'm there. I mean, because I'm trying to get to that next level in my life all the time, and so I just try to surround myself by those high quality people, and keep my Instagram feed cleaned up towards just good content, and yours is the one that I always look forward to watching.
Let's go.
Thank
dude.
you.
Well, introduce yourself. Who are you? Where are you from? Where'd you come from?
Well, my name's Patrick. From here in Orange County. Lived the first part of my life up north in Humboldt County. And then since high school, I've been right around here in Orange County. Recently just took a move with me and my family to Arizona, and we're bringing the company out that way as well.
That's awesome, dude. What part of Arizona?
We're in the Phoenix area.
Area.
Right outside of Gilbert.
Heck yeah. Land of the gurus.
What's that?
Land of the gurus.
That's right. I know we're actually getting closer to the gurus. Our new office is going to be somewhere right around the Tempe area.
Oh, that's awesome, dude. Heck yeah.
Stoked to be there. People ask me why Arizona, was it work? Was it anything? And really it was more so an adventure. Me and my wife, we just wanted to kind of go start something new together.
Yeah.
And so we did.
I love it. I love it. Well, and you guys know the podcast is called Money Time, right? And it's cool because Patrick has built a multi-million-dollar company, right? And you do taxes, right? It's
right.
Explain your company. What do you do? How do you make money in?
Right. So it's been a couple now. It's been a couple multi-million-dollar businesses, which is great. This is Guardian Tax, and what we do is we help people with back taxes to the IRS. So the world, the United States, I should say, is drowning in IRS debt in one way or another. We got people out there with, liens on their property, with travel restrictions, DMV registration holds, bank levies, wage garnishments, all sorts of crazy stuff that's going on because they owe a tax debt to the IRS. And so we have our company. We're passionate about reducing or eliminating as much of that as possible through various different programs. So we'll get them all filed up, get them in compliance, and then based on their current financial situation, we'll see the best possible resolution to resolve that.
Dude, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, and I remember being in that situation. I had a tax issue. I think I remember explaining it to you, right? I made a lot of money when I was 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, and I didn't pay my taxes.
It happens.
And there's one thing I got to tell you guys. They will find you.
Yeah.
They will find you. And if they don't find you, they will make your life a living hell.
If they do, you call, all right?
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
Call Guardian Tech. I wish I would have known you at that time when I was going through it all, right? But it's interesting because they will literally make your life like you can't do anything, right? So you Guardian Tax, you guys have created multiple million-dollar companies doing this, right? Multiple 8 figures.
Right.
What I want to know though is, and I want to get into business, but you didn't just fall here, right? It wasn't like Patrick just went to school, grew up in Humboldt County, and then all of a sudden built these multi-million-dollar companies. Right? What was the journey like?
So, it's been a long journey. You've
lived like 5 lives.
Yeah, big time. Yeah, those that see me now, my wife that knows me now, she can't believe some of the stories that she's heard, so.
Neither can I.
Yeah, right.
When we talk sometimes, I'm like, I'll go tell Kellyanne, she's like, wait, what? And I'm like, yeah, I can't, in my mind.
And I'll say it all nonchalant, but it's like, whoa, that's a big deal.
It's a big deal.
But yeah, from and I'll get into it a little bit here. From a young age, I was born into the system foster care. My mom, she struggled with drugs, and my dad, he also struggled with drugs, and he was in and out of prison most of my life. I met him a couple of times in prison when I was young, but that was it. And outside of prison, like once, maybe twice. But he was always just this fantasy thing, that I wanted to have, but didn't really know. And so until I was 16 years old, I went to go live with him. But by the time I ended up on his doorstep, I was a mess. My mom, met my mom. So I knew her when I was a baby, but I didn't consciously meet her like where I could remember until I was like 5 or 6 years old. So I was living with my Uncle Dave, and at that time, that was the most stability that I've ever had in my entire life living with him. I was there for about a year, but before that, I bounced around to every family member, foster care, and a lot of different areas. Been split from my brothers and all of that, and so I got with my Uncle Dave, and we were close, and I had a little bit of freedom. I felt, security. Anyways, one day he told me that, he started crying. He let me know that, hey, your mom's gonna come pick you up. Apparently she went up north, got clean and sober. Was living in a shelter and it just got out of a shelter and was in this Healthy Moms program, and she was going to come and get all of her kids. Well, when he told me that, I'm like, I don't know who this lady is. You know what I mean? Like, I want to stay with you, Mm-hmm. So that was a big, powerful thing, going to live with my mom. And I got reunited with all my brothers.
You were 5 at the time.
I was 5, about 5.5.
Living in Humboldt.
Living in Humboldt when she came to pick me up, and living in Humboldt County. And reunited with my brothers. I had one other brother there, and then a younger brother as well. She was doing the best job that she could. She really wanted to be a good mom, and we had a lot of structure in the house. She was really strict. We all did chores. We all were like, we're all afraid of her as well, because she, really ran a tight ship.
Right. Right.
And everything was good. That was all good. If she would have just been able to stay sober, she would have been a great mom. And it wasn't for a lack of love. We all knew she loved us so much. But, the devil got the best, and she ended up going back out on crack and alcohol when we were living with her, and married a really crazy dude. And there was a lot of physical abuse in the house, a lot of drugs. We saw a lot of things like, there was guns in the house being pointed around and stuff like that. And
you're living in the house at the time.
We're living in the house. Oh yeah, we're getting our ass beat. I mean, it was bad. It was really bad. My brother, older brother, who didn't live with us, he lived with our aunt. He'd come down to visit a couple different times, and when he'd go back and share the stories, they were like, "Whoa, we got to do something about this," and they didn't know what to do. They want call CPS, get us out of the house, because it was really bad.
Right.
And when we went down to visit one time, our aunts ended up taking us, and during that time they called the cops and brought them down there and had them share the story, and we were oh, we'll tell you a little bit, but we didn't know what was really going on. Well, we got put in Orangewood for about 3 months. Orangewood is here in Orange County. It's like an orphanage. It's where you go. It's placement. Some kids that go into Orangewood, and some of the babies, they never get out of there, right? They stay in the system forever. Some of them get adopted out, that sort of thing. Wow. And some people, it's just a placement time to get them out of a bad situation while they look to see who's going to be the best caregiver for them. So we stayed there for about 3 months. Then I went to this group home for another few months, and then my aunt ended up getting me. I went to go live with my aunt for a little while. I think my mom cleaned up. She was trying to get us back. I lived with my aunt for about a year. But I was a problem child. I mean, really, I was a hard kid to take care of. Always really happy on the outside, but I got into so much trouble. Yeah. Well, at school, I got kicked out of school all the time,
How old were you when you went to live with your aunt?
I was 11 years old when I went to live with my aunt. Wow. Yeah, 11 years old. Lived there. My other brother went with my other aunt. My youngest brother actually stayed there with my mom. Yeah, it was just us that ended up getting removed because we were the ones that visiting. He's got a different dad. Yeah, exactly. So he wasn't visiting those aunts at the time. But I was there, and I was a hard kid to raise, and always getting into the principal's office and always getting sent home. And one day my aunt actually she picked me up from school, and she was crying, and she had to tell me something, and I'm like, what is it? And she told me that she had to put me back in Orangewood. Yeah, she had to put, it was too much for her to handle. And she knew that my mom wanted to get me back. She knew that she wanted to get me back. I knew that later on. But she had to put me back into Orangewood, and she couldn't keep taking care of me I was tough.
Were you?
Yeah. But anyway, so I went back into Orangewood. Let me tell you something though. So like my brother, he had already ran away from home. He was 2 years older than me. My brother was my road dog. We did everything together, you know.
Right.
And I was crying. I'm telling him, my brother, and he was living out in Los Angeles at the time. He was already gone. And I told him, I'm having to go back into Orangewood. I'm scared. I'm 12 years old now. And he's like, don't worry, I'll meet you there. So he wouldn't turn himself in because he was already on the run, running away.
Right.
And when I went into Orangewood, I remember I was in there, and I was in a line every single day, in the lunch line, waiting to see if I saw him. And then one day after like 2 weeks, there's my brother was, and I remember this eye contact we made across the way, and he was there, and I was there, and I just knew that I was gonna be all right,
That's cool,
yeah,
dude.
it was cool.
How was Orangewood?
Dude, so Orangewood was a little sad, man. Yeah, it was sad. So I was in a limbo place, it's like you don't know if it's like rejection, abandonment, someone really trying to get me out of here. I'm 12, you're really young.
Oh yeah, I can't even imagine what's going on in your mind at that time.
Yeah. And then you got some other kids that are broken in there, and you got some other kids that are mean in there, and then some weird ones, right? But all I remember in there is just time went on a long time, not knowing, too young to even know what's going on, so not knowing when anything was going to change. And I remember I would act out in terrible, so I'd throw these tantrums, and I'd be banging on the walls, and I remember I would like, get pencil and shade the pencil off and then make it look like I've been giving myself black eyes so I could just try to get out. I just could not be confined into that room because you're confined for a long time into a room. And then they put me into a padded room. I loved when I went to the padded room. Right? They put me in the padded room, and then I'd just start flipping out, just being a psycho. And I'm not a psycho. But I was just acting out so bad, just, didn't know how to let it out.
Well, you're a 12-year-old in that type of system. I can't even.
Right.
Dude.
No one else was going to the padded room, though. It was just me. It's just me.
It's a different way of expressing yourself.
Yeah. It was like an outlet. When I got there, I just relaxed. I did it. I'm out of the room. Yeah, so that was Orangewood, and my brother, he ended up running from there. He ran from there. He was a runner, man. He ran from there. I waited there for several months until I went to a group home, and then at the group home, we all went to a school where we got let out of a van, and all the people in that school knew that van, that they were kids, they were orphans. They call them orphans. You know what I mean? And so I remember I was getting in fights in Garden Grove a lot. With kids that would make fun of us coming out of the van, you know what I mean? Oh, sure. The kids are cruel, man. They'll be like, you got no mom, you got no dad, look at your clothes, you got no, high waters on, and you know what I mean? So I got picked on a little bit. Yeah, it was gnarly. Wow. And a lot of fights. And but then from there, I went up closer to my mom. So then she was trying to get me, and so I went up north. And there I was in 3 different foster homes there before I got to her. And there was several, probably about another 6 months up north in a couple different foster homes. I was in a Mormon home. I was in some other weird home. I kept getting kicked out of them too because, again, I was a problem child, Right. I got some funny stories about, how I got kicked out of those ones.
Purposely?
No, just being Pat. I mean, if you're around me long enough, I'm just an airhead sometimes, and I like to have fun. I'm super silly, and I don't think about things. I just go.
I don't think you're an airhead. I think you just have you have one speed.
Yeah.
Full speed.
That's right. Full speed. I don't second guess. I don't think about it. I just go. Yeah. So then from there, then I ended up getting back with my mom, and I'll tell you a little funny story about how it went with my mom. Okay, by the time my mom was doing good for a while, but by the time I finally got back with her, she was doing bad again. Okay, and so I remember vividly the memory I had when I first got back with my mom. And God bless you, Mom. I love you to death. Okay, but I'm gonna tell the truth. All right. I went back with her, and she was drinking and she was using, and she knew that I had a bottle of pills, Adderall. That they were putting me on the Adderall, the Ritalin and stuff like that to calm me down through all the foster homes and the group homes.
Right.
And when I went back there, when they were all partying, she was telling all her friends that I had, what I had on me. So they're like, can they have some? And I said, sure, yeah, have them. And then she dished them out to all her friends. And then after she dished them out, she said, well, aren't you going to pay the kid? Facilitated the first, little drug deal I ever had.
First transaction.
Yeah. So that's how it was like living with my mom. It was just, it was a riot, and,
Wow.
But so
and you're how old at this time?
I was almost 13 at that time, about 13. Yeah.
Oh, shoot.
Yeah, so around that time, and my brother, he ended up getting back to my older brother, who we were tight.
He came back?
Yep. And I remember me and my brother got in a lot of trouble again together, and we both got grounded for life at one point. My mom had cleaned up. She'd cleaned up. She was always going on and off, right? She really wanted to be a good mom, and she was half the time,
She was trying,
But anyways, yeah, we got in big trouble and we got grounded for life. And what we do, we started plotting with the next door neighbor and his daughter, and we found out that there was a car there with some keys, and she wanted to get out of the house too. We ended up stealing the car. All of us left. We left and drove from Reading up to Humboldt County, and then I'm 13, my brother's 15, she was like 14 probably, and drove up to Humboldt County, and then we were driving down here, back down here, and we were going through San Jose, and then my brother runs through a red light. Oh. Yeah, and then so we get lit up by some cops, and then right when we pull over, my brother gets out of the car, he starts running, so I start running too, right? I'm like, dude, that's brother right there. So we get going. They let out dogs. We're kids. I'm like, dude, they let out dogs, and so we ended up jumping over into a railroad area, and we got away from the dogs. But I was 13, running away from dogs, and they would have got on.
Oh yeah,
they're going to bite us. It was crazy.
They don't know you guys are kids. They just think
they knew that car was stolen, and that we got out of the car and started running.
No, and, the girl's in the car.
She didn't leave. She's in the car, and my brother ends up jumping over into an RV storage area, and he gets on top. And the report shows later on they're trying to get him down. He's saying "screw you," and I jumped into it.
Wait, hold on. So your brother jumps into an RV park, jumps on top of the RV. They're trying to get him, and he's just not.
Oh, he sounds "screw you." It's like he's not gonna go anywhere, but he just wanted to go to the bitter end, man. And I jumped into a cactus.
Cameras were around back then.
Oh, it's so good. I mean, if you would have seen this, so this is the funny part. I'm in a cactus down the road. I'm 13. They didn't get me, right? They're letting me know that they got my brother. Just come on out.
Well, that's right, because you jumped the wall and fall into a cactus.
Yes, yeah. And I got away. They went after him, and they thought that I went with him, but I went another way. Yeah. So somehow or another, I got away, and I'm sitting in a cactus. And then all of a sudden, when I realized that I'm probably going to be able to get away with this, for a second, they know that that's my brother. I'm like, I'm 13 and I don't even know. I didn't know where I was. Right. All right. Later on, I found out it was San Jose. I started to get a little scared. I'm like, okay, I'm going to go out. And so I ended up walking out. I got my hands up and I dropped to my knees, like way down the road. And my brother, I can see him in the back of the cop car looking at me, laughing. Just like, what's he doing? It was so dramatic, But I ended up going to juvenile hall. Yeah, went to juvenile hall.
Cactus all over you, I'm assuming.
I got prickles all over the place. Yeah, feeling like crap. I realized at that point I was just hungry. I just wanted a meal.
Wow.
Yeah. So 6 months. So 13 years old, 6 months in juvenile hall.
And they got you for
GTA. So here's the deal. I went in juvenile hall in San Jose. They moved me up to Reading. And my brother ends up getting out after a couple of months. I stayed in longer because, not because I'm a badass, but my roommate, he kept picking on me, wanting to fight me. He was like some big redheaded dude. When I was in,
right.
Big redheaded dude. Give me your milk. Give me this. I'm bigger than you. And so one day I was like, not gonna take it anymore. Like, what's going on? I'm not gonna give you my milk. Well, he comes over to beat me up, and he trips over himself, lands on the cement beds with their cement beds in there, breaks his own arm, and then starts crying and goes and buzzes and says that I kicked his ass.
Shut up.
Kick his ass. Yeah, so I got multiple other crimes in there while being in juvenile hall, and yeah, ended up being in there for another 4 months. Yeah.
So you're in there for a total of
6 months. Yeah.
Wow. 16 years old.
13 years old. So
that's crazy.
13 years old, I end up getting out. And I end up having to go into 8th grade late into the year, and I make it known when I go there the reason why I'm late is I was in juvenile hall. All right, I'm a badass. All right, don't mess with me, man. Yeah, I felt like I had no control with the childhood that I had. So I walked around with this I'm a badass thing for a little while. Yeah, identity to try to get some control.
For sure.
which I never really ended up getting the control, and it just felt bad, bottled up, and anyone that knows me now, you know me, you can see me here. I just like to smile and have a good time,
Yeah, you would never know, dude.
Right.
Well, when you and I talk and you tell me some of this stuff, I'm like, there's no way. There's no way.
But as a child, just full of fear, angry, not knowing, how to let it out or how to act. So, that's 13. So I had to carry that identity with me, right? So a lot of drinking.
You moved back to Humboldt?
No, I was in Reading.
Okay, so you're in Reading at the time.
Yep, Reading, and we've been there, yeah.
And you had a foster home?
No, I'm actually with my mom. I got back with my mom.
Okay, so they released you. You went back home with your mom.
Yes,
okay,
exactly. They released me. I went back home with my mom. My brother was already there. And that's just when a lot of the actual regular smoking pot and drinking, every single weekend, stand outside a liquor store trying to get these, bums or whoever to go in there and buy us some alcohol every single weekend, I remember the first time I got drunk, finally I just felt a little relief, finally just that knot in my chest, it was an answer to a lot of my problems at that time. And I wanted to experience that feeling as much as possible. And so it was a mission every day if I could try to get drunk or try to get high, from the age of 13 and on. And wasn't a good student. I ended up making my way to and just so you know, actually, I bounced around a lot. I went back with my mom at that point, and when I was in 8th grade at that point, but then I ended up going to live, things got bad at my mom's again. I went to go back to live with my Uncle Dave at one point. So when I was 15 years old with my Uncle Dave, that same one when I was 5 years old, we were best buds. And I got back with him, and it was so good, so good. I was always his favorite nephew. Sorry, brothers. All right, I was. All right. I was his favorite nephew. We just had this special bond. It was cool. I'm not sure. I think everyone's got someone like that.
Yeah, I have an uncle.
Wasn't
like
a lot of people? It's their dad.
Yeah.
And this was my uncle for me. I mean, we went camping together. Anything that I'm good at today or like about myself, he inspired it. Yeah. He let me know that you're good at that.
Cool.
You can be that. Never been talked to like that by anyone else, where I really felt like I could be somebody. I didn't have any dreams growing up. Like, people say, what did you want to be growing up? I didn't even thought about it. I didn't have the security or the freedom in my childhood to dream like that, Wow. But when I got to live with my Uncle Dave again, when I was 15 years old, he's the one that got me into wrestling. He's the one that said, you're going to stop smoking cigarettes and you need to run around the block every single day. And he was making me run. He's like, you're really athletic. He made me feel that way. Until this day, it's one of those things about myself. I exercise and I push myself,
Dude, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we had that moment together, but he was a paranoid schizophrenic. He went through episodes. So there's been times before that where he tried to commit suicide. And actually, I found out later on that when he got me when I was 5 years old, his brothers and sisters were like, what's he doing with the kid, right? Because he actually had some mental illness, and I didn't know that at the time. He was just my everything. And then when I was 15 years old, when I was with him, an episode kicked in, right, where he starts feeling these conspiracies and feeling like people are after him, and that like these drum rolls play in his head, where something's gonna, come and get him. Right. And he felt that if he was next to me, a kid, that they would either lighten up or not get him, which, I ended up knowing that about him. And so I felt an obligation to like stay around him. And there was this time like where he would just all night long, he would sit in the bathroom with a knife. It's weird. It's so weird. My Uncle Dave is not a violent person or anything like that. Right. It was an episode and he was scared. He's a fisherman. He's a camper. He's, an engineer. He's all these things, you know what I mean? But he'd just sit all night long with a knife because thinking that someone's gonna come, So I had a girlfriend at the time, and some friends, and it was summertime, and we were all hanging out. But then I just stopped hanging out with them, and I was just like hanging out with my Uncle Dave. I felt like I had to be there. I slept on the floor next to his bed, and I was there for weeks, and I didn't want to go away from him. Well, one day he like snapped out of it. It was 4th of July. I was 15 years old, and he said, go out and hang out with your friends today. I'm like, are you sure? Like, really? I don't want to, It's like, it's all good, because he knows that some of my friends were going to Lake Mission Viejo. Right. Lo and behold, I ended up going out there to the lake. And I realized I forgot money when I got there. And it was like an hour and a couple hours later, something like that. So I go back to a payphone. This is the payphone days, no cell phones.
Yeah.
And I ended up giving him a phone call to my stepmom, who was actually living with him while my dad was in prison. My dad was in prison this whole time. You know, she answers the phone. She's crying and she's bawling. And I know something's up. And she says, Uncle Dave's dead. He jumped off a bridge. Yeah. So I flip out. You know, I'm crying. I'm screaming. I remember I just started running down the street, you know. But I remember that was I've lost my mom since then. I've lost some other people, some friends. But that right there was the biggest loss, you know, that I felt, you know, because I needed him. But yeah, he ended up jumping off a bridge off the freeway. He thought people were coming after him, you know, I bet. And apparently he was driving back and forth on the freeway and finally just opened the car door and jumped off head first. Yeah. So that was bad, and I had to go back and live with my mom. Yeah.
Sorry about that.
It was tough. It was tough. I remember that was you know, I'm not sure, when you lose someone for the first time, a lot of questions go through your head. Where did you go? Where did they go? Looking up at the sky, trying to figure it all out. Right. Yeah, all that stuff, you know, and I did that. Yeah, I went to go live with my mom after that, and by that time, I ended up getting on some drugs. Yeah, so out there with I was already doing the smoking pot and the drinking, but I'm 15 years old, and then I think by the time I'm 16 years old, I end up getting introduced to some hard stuff.
At 16.
At 16.
Wow.
Mm-hmm. And meth. And so just so you guys know perspective, I couldn't share everything with you on this when I'm talking right now. Right. By the time I'm 16 years old, I'm a junior. I'm at a continuation school. I have switched schools 45 times by that time. Holy. I have lived with 8 different family members, and I have been back and forth with my mom multiple times. I've been in and out of Orangewood a couple of times in multiple different group homes and foster homes. So I've never at that point even finished one grade at one school. I always switched one complete year. Wow. So I'm always the new guy everywhere I go, and never get to keep a friend, no childhood friend, right? You know, right. And being the new guy has actually taught me a lot of skills on how to be the new guy, though, right? Absolutely. Meet people and everything. Yeah. But still, you know. So anyways, by the time I end up, trying that hardcore drug, I mean, geez, it just solved a lot of problems for me. I remember right away on meth, I ended up, after a couple of weeks, I ended up leaving the house, and I'm just a 16-year-old walking on the street with a backpack on, and stealing things from department stores and stuff like that to try to come up with money to keep staying high, and not sleeping at night, not eating. So that solved the problem there. I didn't have to sleep or eat. But more importantly, like, I remember after it was about 2 or 3 months of me doing this, and then I remember being at a park. It was dramatic, right? So the drugs are gone, because you can't really stay high all the time, especially being a kid. It was really hard to stay high as a 16-year-old. No one's really trying to sell drugs to a 16-year-old all the time. Right. So anyways, I'm at a park, and I'm coming down, and it was the middle of the night, and it's raining, and I remember just being like this feeling of just sorrow and hopelessness. Like, what am I doing? Where am I going? And then a thought came in like, no, you wanted this. You finally don't have to answer to anybody. Nobody can tell you what to do. And it was this powerful moment that I had that, it's just me on my own, and I don't have to answer to anybody. And I went on months and months and months and months like that until I ended up getting arrested in juvenile hall, going to juvenile hall. And actually, I spent about 2 years in juvenile hall total. So with that 6 months plus another stints, I did about 2 years in juvenile hall.
And how long were you living on the streets by yourself for?
As an adolescent?
Yeah, so it was at 16.
Probably a total of 9 months.
Wow.
9 months. Yeah. So I would live in apartment complex bathrooms. During the daytime, I would make a home in Starbucks' bathrooms and stuff like that. And I wouldn't sleep for long periods of time. And where I would sleep is just wherever I'd pass out. That'd be at a bus stop. That'd be, a bush, a park, someone's house on their couch, the back of someone's, whatever.
As a kid.
As a kid, yeah. That was me. Wow. Skinny.
In Humboldt.
This is actually in Orange County.
This is in Orange
This
County.
is Orange County. So my uncle Dave lived in Orange County, and then so this is all Orange County. So since high school, for the most part, I've been here. Yeah. Wow. Yeah. So just robbing, stealing, and just doing drugs and just walking around. And when I was 16, I looked like I was 12. I was just a little guy with a little baby face. Yeah.
Right. Well, I mean, everything you've been through. I mean, Jesus Christ,
Yeah.
I mean.
Right.
So you go to juvenile hall second time.
Juvenile hall second time. So when I was out the first time, I actually I met a girl who stayed. I met a girl who we started going out with, and I was sober during that time. When I first met her, we worked right next door to each other, and I fell in love with this girl. You know what I mean? And it was just because it was just something that loved me. And I fell in love with that.
So, someone cared about you.
Yeah. And we, I ended up with her immediately. I ended up going back to the drugs, and she followed me. She followed me with the drugs. She wasn't doing any of the drugs though, nothing like that. But she was just going along for like the exciting ride or something. I don't know. I went straight to Long Beach, where my mom was at, in a motel, and stayed with my mom in a motel while she went off and did all the things that she liked to do, and I was selling drugs at that time, and people coming in and out all over the place, and she wasn't doing any of the drugs, but she was just staying along for the ride, I guess. Yeah. I don't know, she wanted some excitement. But I ended up getting arrested, and I was really feeling it for her, the feelings and stuff like that, but I ended up getting arrested again with my probation officer not checking in, and peeing dirty and all that. And then I ended up getting sentenced another 10 months in juvenile hall. And at that time, I was almost 18 years old. And so by the time I got out, I was just a couple months from being 19 years old. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So during that whole time, though, she stayed with me. She wrote me letters every day. I couldn't believe it,
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And so when I got out, naturally, I ended up Orangewood, that orphanage that I was in, since I was part of that. There was a program that helped me get into an apartment and all that stuff, and it was the Orangewood Foundation. So they really helped me out there. Oh, cool. But when I was there, we ended up clicking up, getting together, getting her pregnant, and then getting married. And I remember I'm 19 years old when all this is going on, feeling like I was just a grown, mature adult. I remember I was like, this is the answer, to all my problems that I've ever been through.
Right.
I'm going to start a family of my own. Okay. I'm going to be a father to this child here. I'm going to be a husband, and everything's going to be okay, moving forward, what a terrible, terrible thought, right?
At 19.
At 19 years
old. It all
old.
figured out.
Got a good job at Verizon, got some insurance going on. But I remember I was sober during this time. Okay. Until she was pregnant, until about 3 months before the baby was going to come. And I remember I'm not going to any program or anything like that,
Right. Baby's
no 12 steps, no help. I got no family support. No family support from my mom. She's still out on drugs. And her not much family support from her, but some.
Right.
And I remember just the pressure that I felt, not knowing what the feeling was though, but just knowing that I can't handle this. And I've built my life around that at that point, to where someone asked me, how you doing? I'm fine. I'm good. I got it under control. I can handle this. I don't need to ask for help. I can do it on my own. But just that feeling that's coming up, like, I don't know what's going on here at all, about being a dad, about being a husband, about working, paying bills, insurance, OGBYNs. I mean, it was way too much to handle. And I started drinking with my neighbor, and broke that sobriety time. And the drink turned in from one thing into the next thing, to where when we came home from the hospital with the baby and they sent her home with a bunch of pain meds from the C-section that she got, I started popping those pills.
Oh, wow.
Right away, in one pill, the next pill. And I remember, again, right away, this is the answer. Oh, I can breathe. I can take care of anything. That's how I felt when I was on it.
Right.
Later, I felt, I know that whatever I think that it's giving me, it's actually taken away tenfold,
Right.
Because that wasn't sustainable.
To mask.
Yeah, exactly. Which came back to the speed right away. I mean, and I started doing meth right away, right when I started doing meth. And that was when my baby was 3 months old. I had my baby being watched by a family member. I went to a barbecue, and I ended up using at that barbecue, and so did So anyways, I'm not going to draw anyone else in there. Yeah, I ended up using there, and then within 30, about 60 days after that day right there, my child was completely gone with a family member, which is good, and that was me voluntarily doing that. Can you please help me? From that day, I never got my baby back from the family member that was watching it. I said, you need to keep the baby and figure something else out. But from that day, within 60 days, no more child. Evicted from the, pay or quit on the apartment, lost the job, cars impounded, $0, sitting there with a duffel bag. Like, what am I going to do? Oh my God.
Shit.
Yeah. And, 3 months goes down the line, 4 months. And I remember, I had a couple pictures, and one of the pictures was of my kid. And I remember like sitting there with just the duffel bag with nowhere to go, homeless again, looking at the picture like, what did I do? And I couldn't even help it. I can't even go back to think of just the step. It was just a blackout, it was gnarly. But really it's just, I'm a drug addict. I'm an alcoholic. I know that about myself now. And I didn't have the tools to deal with whatever was going on in my life at that time. And I didn't know how to ask for help. But from that point, I'm 19, 20 years old. My baby comes, 20 years old. 20 to 26 years old. I go in and out of jail 20 times in a loop. And that's in Orange County. That's in Riverside County. That's in Los Angeles County, Twin Towers, all that. Been through all of them. Seen them all. No prison. But just by the skin of my teeth. My older brother, like I talked about, who was 2 years older than me, I said my road dog, right?
Right.
We did everything together. That includes robberies, thieving, fighting, doing the drugs, all that stuff together. And he's serving a 16-year sentence right now. He's been in for 9. He went in about a year before I got sober, and that was 8 years ago that I got sober, and so he went in 9 years ago. He still got some time left. I'm lucky that I didn't,
Right.
And actually, but from 20 to 26, in and out of jail, in and out of sober living homes, right? So like I just beg on people's doorsteps, like, because I'd go for 3-4 months hardcore, and then all of a sudden I don't have the will to fight anymore. I don't have the will to get more. I'm just tired. I just need a break. And so I'd sit on these sober living home doorsteps, and I just beg, please let me in. I'll do anything. I'll get a job. I'll pay. I got no money now, but I'll pay the back stuff if I could just help me with a job and everything else. And they'd let me in. Over time and time again, another one would let me in, right, with no money or nothing, just the clothes that's on my back.
Right.
And then I'd get in there and I'd fall asleep after day 1. And then day 2, and they're like, hey, you got to get out and go get a job, right? You can't just sit here and sleep all day long. Like, you got to get up and go. But then now, just coming down off of all the drugs, the reality of my situation hits me like a ton of bricks. The impossibleness of my situation kicks in. I'm at the bottom of a hole. I mean, I don't even know how to even begin. I'm unemployable. I have a rap sheet. I can't get a bank account. I can't get a phone. Nobody wants to help. Nobody wants anything to do with me. I look terrible.
Right.
What kind of job am I going to go get,
Yeah.
And for what? I'm just going to mess up again anyways, right?
Wow.
So,
the mindset.
And so I'm on a bus going to some interview that someone set up for me, but all these things are going through my head, and I'm
Right.
just feeling hopeless, where I'm just like, I just need to take an edge off, right? And so the thought, I just need to get off the bus here, go to 7-Eleven, get a Hurricane, get a 211, a nasty little piss beer, right, and just take an edge off. And I do that, right? And I go behind the 7-Eleven, and I crack it open, and I go, bloop, 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 bloop. And for that moment, it's all better. It's all better. And that's just the disease, But what I don't realize is I'm not just going to take an edge off. I'm not going to get back on that bus and go to the interview. The
Right.
terrible cycle set in motion, right? I'm gone. I'm gone
Plan is in
again.
motion.
Yeah, I'm gone again for however many weeks or months, until I have that moment where a moment of clarity comes, a window of opportunity. I go beg someone else, and someone gives me another shot, right? So many shots were given to me. So much help, but that was just the cycle. And I didn't realize that just one beer meant a million beers. One beer meant a bag of drugs, I didn't think that, All I was thinking in those moments is just, I need to take an edge off. I don't want to ruin everything. I need to go to that job. I need to get that job and go back to that sober living home.
I'm just going to have one.
It's a relief.
Just going to have one.
Yeah. And so wasn't until I was 26 years old where I heard the music finally in these meetings where they told me what I suffered from. And it was that between that thinking, that thinking there. But yeah, all the sober living homes, in and out. Also, when I get cleaned up for a few weeks or a few months, I'd hop on a bus. I got to go see my son, right? And I'd always heading back out to Riverside to go see my kid. And that was the answer. That was going to make it better. I just need to go see my kid. It's going to make everything better. But by the time I got there, and I wanted to be a good dad. I wanted to play catch. I wanted to eat ice cream with him. I wanted to be his hero, right? But I'd get out there, and once I saw him again, I'm looking right into the eyes of the reality of my situation, of what I've done to this kid, and I can't even give him 2 minutes. I can't give him 2 minutes without thinking about myself and how I need to get out of there and go get a drink and take this thought away, right? And when I would leave, he would cry, "Dad, please don't go, please don't go." And he's 3 years old, 4 years old, 5 years old. "Please don't go." And I'm like, "Hey, you know what? I'm gonna be back. I'm coming back next week." And he's like, "No, you're not. I know you're not." And I really wanted to come back, and I wanted to make him feel better in that moment, but I also knew I was lying. And I'd leave and I'd drink it away, and I'd do the drugs and I'd be gone. And that was hard, but I'm gonna tell you a fun experience. When I was 26 years old, and I see you getting emotional because you got your boy. Coincidentally, ironically, they're both Cadens.
They're both Cadens, yeah. And I'm just sitting here, and I know deep down inside that had to have been emotional for you too, right? I can't.
Bad, yeah. I've had some, over these last 8 years, I've had a lot of moments to really fill that hole. Yeah. Me and my kid we're good. We're good. But yeah, I'm emotional, and more so thankful for the God I have in my life.
For sure.
26 years old. I'm out there in Riverside. Funny, why am I in Riverside? Because my kid lived in Riverside, and I had one of those moments where I went to go see him. Couldn't bear who I was looking at him and what I'd done to him, and left and drank and stayed there for months in Riverside because that's just how I rolled. I'm just there. Met some like-minded homeless individuals, and we just ran amok for a while. And I found shelter and some home base on top of an abandoned building, and that was my home. I lived on top of a rooftop, and all my friends that are in recovery with me laugh. They know that's where I ended up.
So I don't think when Patrick says he would go on a spiral for a couple of weeks and then go back to the sober living, you were living on the streets.
I was living on the streets
during those times.
On the streets.
So you would go live on the streets for 2 or 3 weeks, have a moment of, okay, I'm surrendering, I give up, and sober living, 48 hours, back at it.
Indigent, county funded detox, or so whatever I can get into to some shelter and some food. Yeah.
So your soul kind of was screaming the whole time, like you knew what you needed to do, but you were stuck there.
Right.
Right.
Yeah, exactly. And I knew, because from the age of 16, I got turned on to the 12-step program, and I knew it worked. I was always going back to AA. I knew it worked. Sometimes I would lie to myself and say that, hey, I gave it all I got, and here I am still. But then thank God that honest voice was in there like, you didn't give it all you got. You didn't, So I always knew in the back of my mind that was there for me, the 12-step program, when I was ready to get to finally change my life and start living.
That's awesome.
Thank God. I didn't rule that out. Some people rule it out, you know what I mean? But it works. But on the street, I was always homeless, man. And even if I ended up getting myself an apartment at one point, because the second that I would end up using, I don't care if I had an apartment. I just wanted to hit the streets with no responsibility. I'm not paying the bill there. I'm not keeping the lights on.
You were out.
I'm gone. I just wanted to be on the streets with a backpack, walking without having to answer to anybody. It's bad.
Wow.
Yeah. So.
And you're how old at this time in Riverside, top of the building?
26.
26. You're probably looking at him thinking he's 26 now, right?
34.
You look really young. That 26?
26.
Dude, that was less than 5 years ago.
No. 8, a little over 8.
Oh, my math.
So I'm 34.
Oh, yeah. I didn't finish, math. Different subject.
You don't need to finish math to be successful, guys. You don't have to, really. Any school for that matter.
Basic subtraction.
Right.
But that's still incredible. Okay, so in Riverside,
living on this rooftop, and I'd be going down and back up, going off, stealing bicycles, and that's just what I did out there. And I've had to do a lot of work on that, giving back for what I've done since then.
Bicycles.
Yeah, exactly. Just give away a lot of bicycles.
That's awesome.
But so I'm up there for a few months, but then just in particular, we'll just fast forward, okay, till just right before I ended up getting sober for good and decided to start living. I was up there, and I remember I was looking up at the sky, and it was just me. I was more alone than I had ever felt in my entire life, because just so you know, before that, somehow or another, me and my kid's mom were always just together on the street, or she would take refuge because I'm to a nightmare into a family member's house or something like that. But I always had that. I guess you could say that was a validation. That was something. Well, I always had that, that connection with her. But until 3 months before I finally got sober, life had separated us. I was just so far gone, on the point of almost being stuck out there, right?
Oh, wow.
Mentally, yeah.
Point of no return.
Yeah, exactly. So to where she didn't want anything to do with me either. So life separated us to where she was not around anymore. And finally, and that's what I needed, so was to finally be alone, like really alone, with just myself. And I was up there on that rooftop looking up at the stars, and I remember I knew this feeling that I was going to die soon. And just so you know, I've had about 5 serious overdoses. It's by the grace of God that I'm alive. Heroin, because throughout that time from 21 to 26, I'm an IV heroin addict, shooting up with needles. Old ones, whatever I can, just sitting. It's gross, and just stuck on that, and that's really what took me to my knees in terms of hopelessness and just the mental anguish that you go through when you're withdrawing from that stuff. Really, it's just a whole new level of pain and suffering, and I was on the rooftop during that time, going through those withdrawals, feeling like I wanted to die, and also knowing that there's a chance that if I keep going the way that I was going, I was gonna die soon. And I had serious overdoses. Thank God for some good Samaritans. A time where I went to go stay with my grandma to try to get cleaned up. She saved me. She was pumping me. They came and told her that I was dead.
No way.
Yeah, I was bad. And they told her this is what happens when people are on heroin. And then I came back at the last minute. I remember it was gnarly. And but anyways,
I'm sure you was flatlined at one point.
Oh, I was dead. Oh, no more. Yeah. No more heartbeat. Blue in the face, everywhere. Yeah, blue in the lips.
And is that because you just don't know how much is in the actual shot itself? It's one of those like.
Yeah, it's just a lot. God, I just go. I don't think. Remember, I told you I just go, and it was a time at that point, where I went to go get cleaned up at my grandma's house, but from day one when I got there, I was running around trying to figure out how I was going to get more, because I could not get sober.
Right.
And I was in a back closet, and where there was nobody else in the house, and it was this back closet. And I remember thinking to myself as I was doing it, oh my God, this is a lot. If I don't get out of this closet, I'm going to die in this closet. I remember it was the last thought I had, and then it was blackout from there. Apparently, I had found my way out of the closet and into the hallway and smashed on the floor to wake up some people, and they came out and started, my grandma started pumping me, and she's in a wheelchair, with a walker. Yeah, and she's just on the phone with 911, and she said it just took them so long to just get there, But it's a blessing I'm alive. God's got a plan for me.
Yes, your work isn't done here.
I truly believe that.
Yeah.
Felt that when I was on that rooftop, and I remember feeling the pain and the thoughts coming in, and I knew that there was also a chance that I could get sober, and I wanted to. I was feeling that moment, and I knew I had this thought that went through that I just need to sit here and just welcome this pain, welcome this suffering, because I knew that if I got sober one day, I'm gonna have to remember this. I have to remember what this felt like, and I never forgot. It's been 8 years now, and I vividly remember how it felt on there, and I never want to go back, And the next day, at one point, I really can't tell time at that time. You know what I mean? I'm withdrawing. I'm feeling terrible.
Blur.
Yeah, I got a hold of my brother, called him, and told him that I want help, and he'd just gotten sober, and he said that I got a new house, and I want to help you get sober. So I ended up taking a bike and a bus all the way to Orange County, where I went with my brother to finally get cleaned up. He helped me get into and he was amazing support, and he helped me get insurance, get into a treatment center, and that was December 21st, 2014.
Wow.
Yeah, So that's 8 years ago. Just celebrated 8 years in December, which is fantastic.
That is awesome.
Yeah.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you.
Damn, dude, that's incredible. So you go with your brother. This is 8 years ago. He helps you get cleaned up, and you go to treatment center.
Go to a treatment center right here in Dana Point. Yeah. So actually, first he was trying to help me get cleaned up, and I ended up messing up when I was at his house. And he's like, "We got to get you into a treatment center, dude." And I'm like, "Whatever, please, something, you know."
Right.
And I ended up going into a treatment center. And remember, I've been to treatment centers.
Right.
I've been to sober living homes.
Right.
I've been to Alcoholics Anonymous. Well, it's different this time. I needed it just as bad this time as I did when I was 16 years old, you know. But I was just so beaten up and so out of options. I was a blank canvas, and I just, you know, I was ready to just hear the music. It was what was going on. When I say hear the music, it's hear the message. You know, before, I've heard all the things that they say in Alcoholics Anonymous, but I'm just so focused on how do I get a job? How do I make money? How do I do this? That I can't hear their spiritual answer. Wait, well, I need to do what? Help people? Be honest? Like, I need shelter. I need, you know, food now. How is that going to help me, you know, get those things? Go help another person?
Yeah, what are you
I
talking
need
about?
help.
Yeah.
I need help.
I'm the person.
Yeah, help me.
Right.
Yeah, and so I, you know, and I ended up when I say hear the music is I hear this person talk about what they went through, what they felt, and then what they did in order to live the life that they're living at that point, a wonderful life. And I finally heard it, you know, and that was trust God, you know, and that was surrender, you know, and finally it takes myself getting beat up so bad that I'm just out of options to where I can just listen to another man, take advice and follow it, you know.
That's so good.
Mm-hmm.
Can you say that again? Surrender.
Surrender. I mean, a full surrender. Whatever I was doing was not working. I needed to surrender. I needed a clean canvas, and I needed to, you know, ask another man for help, and trust that God had a plan for me. Right. So.
So good.
Yeah.
And for those people that have been stuck, maybe stuck right now in that situation, right? They're your brother's house, bouncing back and forth. They know they need help. They know they need to do something.
Right.
But that tape just keeps playing.
Right. Yeah.
What's your best advice to them? What would you say to them?
Ask for help, right? Ask for help. If you keep your pain in, it doubles. If you share it, it's cut in half, right? And I've felt that. I don't know where a lot of people are at with God, and that's usually a lot. I've found that that's usually a lot of the hardest part. Where I was at with God was no God before I got here. I had to say some hollow prayers to really just try to just touch that inner spirit in myself, you know, to really hit my knees and say prayers to something that I didn't know existed. And if it did, I didn't know if it had any concern with me, but I was suggested to get down, surrender, and say some prayers, you know, ask for help. God help me. And I did a lot of that in the beginning of getting clean and sober, until I started to feel something inside of me, a God, consciousness, you know. So prayer.
That's awesome, man.
Prayer's been the biggest thing. But yeah, if you're suffering and you got that tape playing in your head and you don't know what to do, it's just you know that you have those little moments of clarity, like I talked about when I was just talking, those little windows of opportunity. Just in that moment, take advantage of it. Ask for help. You know. Yeah.
That's big. I see even in business, that's the hardest thing is to ask for help.
Right.
Yeah, it's one of the hardest things to do is to ask for help. And
right.
It's amazing how many people actually want to help you.
Right.
Right. It's astonishing.
I've correlated so much of what I've learned in recovery and in this fellowship of getting clean and sober and starting living has been amazing in terms of my success. I correlate a lot of the same things, like ask for help, you know.
Yeah.
Like one day at a time. Right?
Yeah.
You start business and you think you're supposed to get rich right away, right? But like a blade of grass grows a day's growth in a day's time. If you're watering it and giving it sunlight, it can only grow so much.
Right.
Same in business, same in sobriety, same in anything, right?
So good.
Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah.
That's awesome, dude. Hell yeah. So what was the transition? So you're getting cleaned up, you're going to the sober livings, and how does that relate to you then getting into the tax business that you're in? How does that?
Let's get there.
How do you get to meeting Natasha, right?
Yeah.
And then beautiful.
The best parts of my life.
Beautiful
right?
baby girls here, right?
Mm-hmm.
So.
Tell you a couple of things here right across the way. First, I want to tell you something that happened with my son, right? Because that's a big deal, and it's been a real big deal in my life. 4 months after getting clean and sober, I finally decided to go see first day I wanted to get cleaned up, right? Because I was in these meetings and I was seeing my son, my first 30 days, and this old man said, screw your son. You don't care about your son. Get sober, dude, And it really made me think, like, wow, bro, I need to, like, get that out of my mind, get that out of my head. I'm nothing to my son if I can't just get sober. So I pushed that aside for 4 months, really did some hard work on myself, step work, and just showed that I could put together 4 months, Finally went to go see him. We have this huge moment where I'm like on my knees and I'm hugging him and we're just so tight, It was this powerful moment. We just hung on and we just didn't let go for a long time. And we had the best time, and I was just so happy to see him, and we had the best time together. It wasn't like the other times where I was trying to rush out of there,
You were there.
I was there with him, and we cried. But when it was time to leave, he did the same thing again. He started crying, Daddy, don't go, please, don't go. And I'm looking at him, and I remember what I did to him, and I'm telling him, I'm going to be back. Next weekend, I'm coming back. And he's like, no, you're not. I know you're not. I got chills, and I'm getting emotional now. And I wanted to make him feel and know that I was coming back, but I couldn't. So I had to walk around with that the next week, and until I came back. We had the best time ever, but when it was time to leave, he cried. And he hung on to me, and he just cried in the whole driveway the whole way when I'm leaving. He knows that I'm not coming back. And he's bawling his eyes out. And that went on for a few months until one day I'm driving away, and I'm like, he's not crying when I'm leaving anymore, right? It's been a couple of times now. He knows I'm coming back.
That's so
And
cool.
that was my first spiritual experience in this program of like, I'm doing the right thing.
Right.
And it filled me up, and I had many other experiences like that, but it was just the first one where my soul just went, woke up. So
that's
that
awesome.
was cool. So that's that experience there. And since then, we got basketball games, we got skateboarding, we got just so much anime, we got just everything he's into, I'm into, and we just do it together. Everything, till this day. He's my bud. He's my best bud. And we got an awesome relationship.
How old is he now?
He's 15 years old.
That's
He's 15 years old.
He looks just like you, too.
Yeah. He's in high school. He's a talented kid. He's funny. Skateboards.
Yeah.
Plays basketball. And I had a lot of just crazy growth going through that process, but it wasn't easy.
Right.
It wasn't easy, And I didn't know how to be a dad. Still didn't know how to give him all my time and my attention, and so much has changed since then from the very beginning, But let's get into some of the other stuff.
Do you guys still have talks about?
Me and him?
Yeah, like
big
about
time.
About what you used to do, or do you ever bring it up or ask questions or anything?
Yeah, big time. I mean, we just had another. I'm not going to go too much into it, but as he was raised with his grandparents, so that means not his mom, right? You guys know that the mom was having a hard time. She was not, she's been out in like Washington and another area for a long time, so it was just me that came back and was there for him. Thank God for that. Thank God that I was able to get there when he was 6 years old, and be there for him. But we have talks. Yeah, we have a lot of talks. So there's still a lot of pain, right? He's still got a lot of pain, and he'll break out into a lot of emotions and stuff like that, like he did the other day, and I have to just I sit there and just try to just pray to God with how can I just be loving and kind and understanding about what he's going through, and be a leader in his life and just listen. So yeah, it's hard. It's tough to navigate. I don't know how to navigate it sometimes, but he's a great kid, and I'm grateful for the relationship that we have. Yeah. I wanted him to live with me, right? But he's been there his whole life, and so yeah, his grandparents are his favorite, and then I'm right there.
Well, and he has all his friends there too.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's hard. That's hard.
So
and you're doing a great job, by the way, dude. We see it happening, and not that you need me to tell you that in any way, shape, or form that means anything, but from the outside looking in, like.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Cool. The thing is, I didn't have a dad, and I felt a lot of this. It didn't come easy that I got back in his life. It was a cycle that had to be broke.
Yeah.
And so there's a lot of those cycles going on out there, and I know that a lot of people are dealing with stuff like that. It didn't come easy. So I see how my dad was not around. He was guilt. He felt so much guilt for what he'd already done.
Right.
And, the thoughts in my head like, hey, why are you interrupting this kid's life? You're just going to go back out and do what you've always done before. Just stay away. Don't hurt him. Those thoughts went through my head. So I said, they probably did with my dad too. which is why he stayed away. It's a lot of guilt and a lot of responsibility to own up to as a man, to show up after what you've done, after what I've done.
Yeah, it takes a man.
Yeah. So it wasn't easy, and I had to go through a lot of emotions myself, and discipline, and growing up, and character building, and everything else, and God. It was just a lot of prayers with God. So
That's so awesome. I gotta introduce you to John. We had John on. He's 32 years clean sober.
that's rad.
Yeah,
Those are my heroes.
Yeah.
Those are my heroes.
Yeah, he's awesome, man. He helps a lot in the program.
Right.
Does a lot for people that are in it. Well, and then Ed Milet's story of his dad, is
Powerful.
so inspiring, so powerful.
The end of that book hit me.
Dude.
Yeah, I listened to it
I'm
a few times,
I'm sure,
dude.
especially you relating to that. Oh. And then, what's cool is how the dad would pick up the phone and still remember everyone's sobriety date and call them, right? And then I didn't know, like, your sobriety date is now technically your new birthday.
Right. I know it better than my birthday. Yeah.
That's awesome, dude. That's awesome.
Yeah.
So connect the dots.
So from there, check it out, guys. I mean, like, this is 8 years ago. It's not long. A lot of amazing things happened in a short period of time.
That was not a long time ago, dude.
Not a long time ago.
No.
And still, it's even less. So I ended up, I have arrest warrants and all this stuff when I first getting sober. I can't even get a job for the first 6 months. I had to go show up in all these different counties and do some jail time and all sorts of stuff before I could even think about going and getting an ID card, which is required to fill out a job application and even get a job somewhere. And so it was like 6 months, 7 months by the time I was done washing cop cars for my community service for all the stuff that I'd done before, and I was ready to go get a job somewhere. So, excuse me. During that time, I was taking the bus everywhere. Didn't have a cell phone or anything like that. I'm, bumming a little bit of money from where I can from my brother, asking for help and things like that. Finally, I ended up getting a job, decent little job, at a little tech company, software company, selling this, email security system, and it was a startup. And it was a decent little salary and some commissions on top of that. But it was the perfect job for me to get me back in the groove of things. We stood up, we role played, we did all that. Saved up enough money to get myself a little car. Bought it all cash, a little Toyota Paseo that I was driving around. It's just a little go-kart.
Yep.
And but I owned it. And just so you guys know also, during this time, I'm like, it's a big deal for me to like go get the car registered, to get insurance on the car.
Do anything.
I've gotten cars before. I've never gotten an insurance policy on it. I've gotten some cars from the dealerships too, and never made my first payment on it. I'm like, catch me when you can. Like, I'm not paying the payment. Right. So for me to go do things legit
was a mission.
Was a big deal.
Yeah.
So I'm trying to be legit citizen in life. At the same time, I'm working on my sales ability, right? And so I got to stand up in some circles at this company for about 6 months, and we just role play back and forth, and we hit it, and we're just cold calling. It's just cold calling, getting through the gatekeeper, trying to talk to the decision maker of how we're going to get you set up with some email security, right?
Right.
And doing some we want to get you on a demo. We do this live demo and all that.
Love it.
So not a lot of money that I'm making there, but waking up that sales beast, right?
Learning.
I love it. Learning. And just so you know, before this, I'd done a lot of phone sales. I've always loved phone sales, okay? But then from there, I ended up getting another opportunity to where I went with another place to sell for them, and this is in the treatment world. So they have organic leads online where people are calling in who are struggling across America, who are having trouble with, staying sober. I worked there for about 3 or 4 months, making some decent money. 10, 15 grand a month or something like that on some of these months. Yeah, it was good, and but then something wasn't sitting right with me doing that for many different reasons. I was like getting paid to help people get into, treatment centers and things like that. Even though it was all legit, it was all organic marketing. There's a lot of body brokering stuff that goes out there. It was nothing like that, but it really was, I felt like, interrupting my own recovery, because I like to keep that completely separate from any monetization or anything like that.
Right.
So I left.
Good awareness.
Yeah.
Great awareness.
Right. And then you want to know what? That was some suggestions from some people that I respect around me, and I heeded their advice. And it was good advice.
So good.
Yeah. Because most people that stay in that type of business, I've seen a lot of them not stay sober.
Well,
Right.
Yeah. What I can see is because you don't separate it.
Right.
Right.
Mm-hmm. So then from there, I remember I didn't have a job for a little while, and I was trying to figure out what I was going to do, and then an opportunity came to go work with my buddy Pierre in this old abandoned car dealership in Rancho Santa Margarita, doing student loan consolidation, helping people with federal student loans consolidate their debt and lower their monthly payments. I was one of 9 salespeople. It was a super sketchy layout, right? But I went in there and I was hustling, man, and I got to make some good money and help people in the debt relief space, in the student loan debt relief space. And it was just inbound calls, and I just sit there and slay from morning to night. And I did really good. I was doing probably about maybe 10 grand a month again in that position. And that company started growing a little bit more and growing a little bit more. And meanwhile, I'm going to the gym and I'm talking to an old friend who was now my business partner, an old friend. And he was a nurse and he was still doing some more school to do that. And I was a sales guy working in an abandoned car dealership, right?
Jordan.
But he was Jordan. Yeah, exactly. He's super interested in what I got going on. So every time we'd see each other in the gym, he's like, how's that sales gig going? I'm like, still making freaking a lot of money. And he's because he was on like a salary and it wasn't nothing near that amount.
Right.
He's like, I want to make the jump. I want to do sales. One day when I finally showed him another check that I made, and it was a fat rip, he's like, I'm doing it. I'm quitting my job. Quit his nursing job and came to the car dealership with me. When he first got there, I'm going to make a joke here. When he first got there and on his first day, there was some guy, because sometimes in the sales space, you can come across some sketchy dudes.
Oh, yeah.
All right.
Oh, yeah.
This guy was like, some dude had no shirt on in a corner and he was passed out on his desk. And Jordan's like, he works here? Like, what are we doing? And I'm like, bro, just get on the phone and take his calls. Let's go. And he did really good. Jordan crushed it. He broke some records, along with me, and we were, cranking out some big numbers, and we had a lot of fun when it was just us being salespeople. And but then the boss man, he was ambitious, and it was so cool to see where he started from and what he started to grow it into. So we were cranking it out. We maxed out this freaking this place that we were at, and we started looking for some new space. And he's like, hey, I'm gonna look for some new space. He came to me. He wanted me to be the first manager of this place, right?
Heck
so I'm like, cool, and I felt great, Let's run it. And we went and looked at some space, and the place that we ended up taking was huge. There was enough room for 150 it was guaranteed rate, and there was 150 cubicles out there that we were taking over half their space. I'm like, this place, it was awesome. And my mind was exploding, right? Like, this is a big deal, and I'm a part of it. And
so cool.
Yeah, it was. And so I started with my first team, about 4 or 5 people or something like that. And over the next year, I was able to help grow the company. My team, I had a team of almost 25, 30 people there, and and then from that point on, a bunch of other managers came, where I kind of assumed a little bit of a role where I was being a manager of, supervising those managers.
Right.
And the company was still trying to gain its structure and things like that. But I was making like 16, 17 grand a month during that time. Yeah. And I'm going to tell you a couple things because it's important to me. So I'm making about 15, 16 grand a month as a manager there. And I'm learning a lot of skills about how to, what makes people move too. Because I'm having to keep my team going and keep them motivated and performing and producing, right? And so I got to learn a lot about personalities and what makes people, how to treat people out on the floor, and had a lot of good success with it. But let me tell you something. At that point in my life, I'm a little over 2.5 years sober, and I owe about $50,000 in child support at that time. Okay. And I was paying at that point. I was paying I didn't pay for a long time, but I was paying like my $300-$400 a month, $500 a month, and part of the step work is what is it? Making amends, right? And some of those amends are financial amends. This is the hard part, man. This is the hard part. This is where a lot of people, they won't do, right? So I also couldn't have a bank account because of my history, right? And also because I owed child support, they'd always dip in and they would levy my bank account. Right. Plus, no one wanted to give me one. So I had my closet and I had it stacked full of cash. I'd save all my cash in there. I had a car at that time that was just $3 or $4 grand. I paid it cash. Didn't want to have any payments. I kept my bills real low. I loved the fact that I was saving money. Right. For the first time in my life, I had $50,000 saved up in my closet in cash. I've never seen that kind of money. I mean, it was wild.
Right.
And I'm
That's
doing
cool.
step work with my sponsor, and we go over the fact that I owe his child support, and he also knows that I have a bunch of cash in my closet. And he looks at me and he goes, "That money doesn't belong to you."
Oh.
Oh, what are you trying to say I should do?
What do you mean?
He's like, "Well, what do you think you should do? Like, do you want to stay? How far? What are you willing to do in order to achieve sobriety, long-term sobriety?" And I'm like, "Anything." Right?
So good.
And so I ended up having to do a few more prayers and mull this thing over and really do some meditating on this. But I walked into that child support office with about $47,000 in cash. They didn't know what was going on. They're like, "What is going on?" They took the money too. It could have been a drug dealer or something, you know.
I don't think they give.
They don't give a shit. They don't give a shit, dude. They this counting. We sat there forever counting this money out, right? And I paid off my whole bill.
Dude, that is awesome.
Yeah,
I
that is
like
wild.
how your sponsor goes, "That's not your money."
Right. It's
so
not.
good. It's
And
not.
so, and I want to hold on. What does that do? That's me not having trust in God. That's not me having trust on whatever got me to that point in my life at that time. You know?
So good.
And
so good.
that was a surrender moment. And guess what? I've gotten back 1,000 times.
Oh yeah.
That.
Oh
you know. Yeah.
Had you not, right, and we
Right.
probably wouldn't be having this conversation.
That's right. Right.
Crazy.
Serious. If I
Yeah.
kept that mindset,
Right,
no, I'm
right.
gonna keep mine. I'm not screw everybody else. Right. No, I had to. That's me taking responsibility for what I've done.
It was a full transformation.
Full
It wasn't no
transformation.
180.
Right. Right.
All the way around.
Big time.
So good, dude.
So, those are big moments for me in
yeah.
my life, you know, and that's faith, you know, and then it comes to the point to where a few months down the road, we want to start our own business, right? Me and my partner. And Jordan, we ended up coming together like, hey, we could do this, man.
Right.
I mean, look what we've done so far with these teams and these sales, and we know what's going on, you know. And thank God for Jordan. He's the merchant guy, he's the money guy, and all that other stuff. And I just like to just go and visionary and get people excited and join the team, you
Right.
know, that sort of thing. So we worked really good, because if it was just me getting a team together,
Yeah.
it would have been a little bit more difficult.
For sure. Need the details.
At that point, I didn't know about merchant accounts, and my credit was terrible too. Yeah,
Right.
jeez, I had to write a whole lot of letters to these merchant companies. They're like telling Jordan, "That's your partner? Are you sure you know what he's done?"
You seen his credit?
Yeah.
That's
So
funny.
I had a lot of
know what
explaining to
that's
do.
like.
Yeah. So, but anyways, we wanted to start our own company. We started off in my brother's garage, just with a computer and a couple people who had a little faith in me, right? And we just started banging the phones out, cold
So
calling.
cool.
Yeah, and we started getting some deals. And I remember when we were in that garage, it had been 2 months since I had just emptied the bank account on that child support deal. Me and him put $5,000 into this new business, and I had about $20,000 left to my name when I left that company and went, and that's my cushion. That was what's going to carry me from this point to this point.
Right.
But I get arrested. I'm having a visit with my son.
Oh.
Visit my son. He's 10 years old at that time, and I get pulled over on the side of the road, and they ask. I'm like, what could possibly be going on? I mean, this is 2.5 years later. I'm good. Car's good. Registration's good. They said, "You ever been to Long Beach?" And I was like, "Oh, yeah, I have been to Long Beach." Yeah,
Forgot about that one.
And they let me go one time in Long Beach after a judge never saw me for 5 days, and it was for a burglary.
Oh,
Yeah, a residential burglary, because I was stealing bikes in a storage unit that shared a wall with an inhabitable space where people lived. And that's part of the thing that would make it a residential burglary, which is a big deal, you know. And so, yeah, I ended up getting arrested. Right, well, you know, a wreckage of my past. My kid's standing outside of the window right there while I'm handcuffed. He's never seen me handcuffed before.
Is he in the car?
He's right out. Yeah, he's with me. Yeah, it was my visiting him, and he was with me. And so now he's right outside of the cop car at the window while I have a friend coming to pick him up that's going to take him home. And he's screaming, "You let my dad go. He didn't do anything. You guys are just a bunch of idiots. Let him go." You know, and I'm just speechless. Like, you know, don't even know what to say.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And anyway, I end up going to jail, bailing out for $5,000. That brings me from 20K to 15K. And then when it comes down to the lawyers and everything else that I had to end up doing, that was the rest of it. It was this because I ended up going to court, and they're like, "Hey, 9 years in prison, all right?
What?
9 years in prison. You got a terrible rap sheet. You've been in and out. You've been on probation. This is a residential burglary. You need to get the book thrown at you. 9 years in prison. It was 7 years. Well, then I ended up going back. I hired a lawyer and then went back to court. And then they said 9 years because we're enhancing it to a violent crime because you had pocket knives on you and there was people present. And I'm like, oh my god. So I end up firing this girl and then hiring the super lawyer. And he's like, hey, 12 grand and 3 more grand if I get you no jail time, right? And this guy's been to Supreme Court twice and won. So I felt pretty. This guy, Barry Simons, he's the best. All right, Barry Simons. This guy, he's got glasses on, and he'll stare you. He'll look at you with his eyeball and just sweating. Just you see the drop come off from his eyeball. He's really sizing you up, you know. And like this is the guy. One look at the prosecutor, and like you know, he'll have them shaking on their boots. So he ended up building this mediation package for me, you know, where he goes into the fact that my parents were, you know, drug addicts and that, you know, I had been prescribed so many painkillers from the doctor's offices at such a young age. And then later on, and the opioid epidemic, he was referencing all these crazy things all over the place. He got all my treatment center stuff and just incredible package. And he presented this to them. And thank God I had 2.5 years sober. And thank God it changed my life around, you know, thank God I had God on my side, right?
Yeah, that's what it was.
Yeah, big time. Yeah. Changed my life around because the prosecutors are like, the DA was like, this is the most incredible, you know, mediation package we've ever seen, and we need to have, you know, success stories on our book too, and this is one of them. You know, we need to let you, you know, have an opportunity to. I went and did some community service, 150 hours. So like on the, you know, so when I'm trying to start this new business on the weekends, Saturday and Sunday from 7 a.m. to 3 o'clock, I'm at Doheny scrubbing toilets and, you know, cleaning out bathrooms and stuff like that on the weekends. And then the other weekends I'm visiting my son, and then I'm trying to start this business Monday through Friday, and I have $0 now. No money because it's all been spent, right?
Dude, talk about two different roads. So you go down, because I'm connecting the dots here, right? Had you not gotten cleaned up, had you not made the decision to surrender, had you not had God on your side, that would have came up.
Right.
That would have came up regardless.
Oh, yeah.
And they would have
I would have
thrown
been
the
in
9
prison.
years.
That was my ticket.
Had you not passed away before that from an overdose.
Big time. Big time. You nailed it right there.
Dude, that's crazy. You literally have 3 different roads, right?
Yeah.
You're standing here, and you just so happen. Dude, that's crazy.
Incredible, right? And that hit me
so
hard.
Inspiring. Dude.
Yeah, I knew that was it.
Dude.
Yeah.
God is good, man.
God is good.
Keep going. Know? Sorry, I didn't mean to.
No, I appreciate that. No, I appreciate that, and you're right. That is. I had 3 roads. 3 roads to go down, and God, I feel blessed. I'm overpaid. I really am. You know, with where my life's at right now, that business, you know, finally started to take off. And again, remember, me and my partner, we invested $5,000 a piece. Never invested again. We keep reinvesting, and at this point, remember, we're just helping people with their student loans. You know, consolidate them into one loan, get them out of collection, some of them, and then get them the lowest possible payment based on their current, you know, income. And we charge a fee for it. You know, it was $995. We charge a fee to do that, and people were happy to pay it because we did such a, you know, it was a major help to them in their life.
Right.
So it probably took about I don't know, 6 months before we started making some money, some real money. We were paying, you know, our bills, right? A couple grand here, a couple grand there, paying our whatever we had to do to pay our bills. But that was in 2017. 2018, we have, you know, probably 30-something employees. And then we end up moving to a 4,500 square foot office up on, I think it was, could have been 6th or 7th floor or something like that. Real nice place. This was actually off of MacArthur and Fairview. Okay. Yeah, out in that area. It was in the K-Wave building. Yeah. But 2019, we ended up, that was our big year. We did, I think, a little over $5 million. A little over $5 million that year. Yeah. Sick, I know. Dude. Helped a lot of people make a lot of money. Yeah.
That is awesome.
$5 million. That was our second full year.
So that was 2019. So that was how many years ago? 19, 20, 21, 22. That was 3 years ago.
Yeah.
Right. So, and you've been on this journey for 8 years.
Yes.
So 5 years
yes.
into your journey, you guys hit $5 million.
Right.
Let's go. Baby.
Absolutely.
Let's go.
Yeah. $5 million, which, you know, led to, I think that's about, that was in Rev.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
probably, yeah. I think, and I'm, you know, partners with somebody else. So I think it was about 1.5 million in profit.
Strong.
Yeah.
Strong.
Pretty good.
And so 2019, then 2020. So was that still Tax Guardian?
So that is student loan direct.
Okay.
Yeah, it's student loan direct during that time. We're helping people out with the student loans.
Because there's two different businesses.
And we did a lot of money. I think we did 3.5 something million the year before.
Strong.
You know, yeah,
Strong.
Big time. And then as we carry on into what is it?
2020.
2020. That's when the whole COVID thing happened, right?
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. When I remember you cleaning out your office. I remember talking to you about that.
Right.
Yeah.
So and
I remember you. Sorry, I remember you building the cubicles when you guys first got your first office.
yeah.
That was super cool. I remember.
Well, you've been
that.
around the whole
Yeah,
time.
I remember that. Yeah.
You've been around the whole time. I mean, let me tell you something real quick. From the day that I met you, it was just, I don't know, the energy, the spark.
Yeah.
You gave me a little bit. You piqued my curiosity a lot. I met my wife in also 2017, guys. She was my girlfriend then, and she was friends with Adrian's wife, and they were both doing a little business venture together in the hair product type industry.
Right.
And they had some girls over. They were kind of talking to them a little bit about it. And I was there kind of supporting her, watching her do it, and they were just doing a great job. I mean, it was awesome. Filled me up.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
Where was that? Was that at Chanel's house?
It was your house.
Was it?
It was your house. It was your first place when you first got out here, I'm pretty sure. Yeah.
Aliso Viejo.
The town. Aliso Viejo. Yeah. And so, this is 5.5. Something.
Wow, dude.
Yeah.
Wow. I have a hard time remembering that one.
I remember Adrian comes walking in the door with a sweet suit on, and he's just loud. He knows how to speak. I mean, I'm just like, this guy's gonna be my friend. He's gonna be my friend. I'm definitely gonna hang out with this guy, because I just knew he was going places. You know, I felt that way, and so we've been able to keep up a pretty good friendship since then, and I've been able to watch what he's doing. I get to call him up, ask him what's going on. He's always telling me what's going on, and just Adrian talks a lot about expanding your mind, and I get on the phone with him, and he really does expand my brain and expand my mind of what I think is possible. So thank you for that. Thank you for that.
Thank you, dude.
Yeah.
It helps both ways. Mm-hmm. Both ways.
All right.
So,
Tell me back in here.
2020.
2020. Yes, exactly. And remember,
COVID
guys,
hits.
hey, I met my wife, and I have to say that was in 2017. That was right when I got arrested that time, and it was when I was first starting this business before I had any money or anything, and I was just madly in love, chasing her around everywhere. Okay, it was a exciting time of my life. I wouldn't let one date end without making plans. So like, when are we going to see each other again? Like, the next date was scheduled on the same date.
That's awesome. You guys met in 2017.
17.
You had the business with Jordan already.
We were just
getting
no.
going.
The business started a few months later. A few months later, exactly.
Was she there when you got arrested?
She was there about 3 months. She was with me for about 3 or 4 months at that time, and she was like, "What is going on here? Like, who are you?" Yeah, and I told her.
Yeah, Natasha's from. She's not,
No.
Yeah.
This is all new and just scary, very scary, and so she really took a chance with me. Big time. And I told her what was up in the very beginning too.
Right.
But still, I can tell someone, but them seeing is a whole nother story.
100%.
Right? Yeah.
Yeah.
So anyway, she stayed with me, thank God, through all that. And I have to say that she's a big reason, a big part of the man that I've become. I was a boy before I met her, and that also had to do with the stage I was at in my recovery at that time when I met her too. But I was just a little bachelor guy living with a bunch of kids. We were just living together, and no real structure in my life or anything like that. And since I've been with her, I've really just grown up. I'm still silly, but got serious, you know. And so I love her for that. Yeah, big time.
That's so good, dude.
Yeah, she's a great mom to our baby, and an excellent wife. Had to throw that in there. All right.
Oh, yeah. She's gonna watch this.
Yeah. I mean, it's the truth. It's the truth, man.
It is, and you can tell too.
Yeah,
dude.
yeah.
Kellyanne and I talk about it often. Mm-hmm. You're a really good husband and a good dad. You're present. You're present, dude. You're the most present person for our age. Right?
I'm an Instagram dad.
For our age.
That's what I.
No, but I see you because you're not You're
right.
not one to be on your phone. You're not one to. Well, from what I see, right? Like, who knows what happens?
Yeah.
But from what I see, so
right.
And that's always inspiring.
Thank you.
Yeah.
2020, we get into there. We're already starting to try to shift our business to another business model. That business was not a sellable business. We didn't want to keep to stay into that business model for too much longer. We were going to be switching into a whole new business model with a different type of product, one that could be sellable at one point.
Huge.
And but during that time, we had this whole we let go of some people during a lot of people, where we kept on maybe our top people. Then the shutdown happened and we sent people at home. And we were trying to train people on it wasn't working. It just wasn't working at home. I didn't know how to effectively have a remote business during that time. And so we ended up getting out of that office and letting everyone go, actually. And that was around the shutdown of March. Thinking that I can do anything. So here's the thing. Here's what I want to tell some people out there. This is just something that I got from that. When I was kicking ass for those few years in our own business, doing really well, I was filled with all this security, like, whatever happens with this, I can do anything. I felt that way. I could do anything. If I don't do this, I could do that. And I'm always entertaining new ideas. And like, I could do that. You know, and you know, maybe if something goes wrong with this, I'll end up hopping on that later on. But there's just this confidence that you have when the wheels are in motion.
Yep.
And if you're not busy building, you're actually shrinking.
For sure.
There's no staying the same.
Right.
There really isn't.
Right.
And we stopped growing that business and we started going the other way, and I paid for the consequence. You know, we started just kind of not hire as many people, cut costs in a lot of areas, you know, not having the dream anymore, relaxing on our laurels a little bit. And then I was still filled with some of that confidence as we were shutting some things down, like I can do anything. No matter what, I'm going to start something back up here. But what happened was once that got shut down and I'm at home and I'm going to, at one point I end up shifting to where I'm going to be a successful day trader. And I hop on the day, and there's no business for someone like me, sporadic all over the place, not knowing what I'm doing, realizing at one point that these aren't chips, man. These aren't paper trading. This is my money that's going away, you know.
This is real cash.
This is real cash, yeah. You know, I ended up getting stuck in that, you know, cycle for a little while. And when I came out of that cycle where I'm just, you know, getting my news on YouTube about what stock to buy today and then it just going down, you know, realized, what am I going to do for work? You know?
Which so many people did, by the way.
Yeah, I know.
So many people that I talked to.
But I'm the only one that lost money when everything went up. Everything was going up in
No,
20.
you're not, dude. You're not. I just had a conversation this weekend with somebody. They're like, I'm like, how did you lose? And he's telling me, and I'm like, yeah, it sounds about right.
Right. It's embarrassing, you know. But I learned a lot. I learned that I'm not a day trader, right? Yeah. And
I learned what not to do.
There's no get rich quick thing for me.
No.
You know, it was good for some people, yes, you know, where they can get on there. But it was good for me to realize that I'm gonna have to go out there and work, right? I'm gonna have to go work.
Strong.
And
Strong.
I remember
Most of us.
I remember going through late. I couldn't laugh in the moment because I was pretty upset about the money that I lost. But later on, I was looking at this one meme, and this guy's like, "What'd he say?" He's like, "You know, I had an opportunity to buy this yacht, this boat right here, but instead I invested all my money in the stock market. Now I got no damn boat and no damn money." That was great. It was great.
You got a boat though.
Yeah. I got a boat. Now I got a boat. I recovered since then. So yeah. So
no money, but you got the boat.
Right. During that time,
That's funny.
God did set aside that time for me. My wife got pregnant, and she got real sick for many, many months, and I was able to be there for her and take care of her for months. Thank God. How cool. You know, and that was on some of the successes that I had from before, that I was able to comfortably do that with her. But then it was time to get back to work, and I didn't know what I was going to do. Before, when I thought that I could do anything, now I had this no confidence where it's like, I don't even know what I'm going to do, but I knew I had to stay busy. I had to stay active. And I knew also I had to keep building my character. And my character is my life is proportionate to my character. My character is going to determine, do people want to work with me, who I am, right? Who I am. Am I honest? Can I show up? You know, am I disciplined? And do I have a fantastic attitude? That's what people want to work with. So I knew I had to keep working on that, which
good.
My program helps me with that. And then, but I knew I also had to stay active. I had to keep showing up. So I ended up going through some online courses, got my mortgage license. California didn't want to license me with my background. You know, you can't find that out until way later on. But I did all that. It was months and months and months of me doing that. And then that wasn't going to work out. And then I ended up going and I follow all these guys on the solar industry, and I see these kids ripping out huge. I mean, I'm talking 100, 150 grand a month. These kids are doing knocking doors. Oh yeah. No joke. And I've watched some of these owners of these solar companies go from nothing to building these awesome companies. So I wanted to go see what was up with that, and I joined this one team. And I remember I ended up going on a blitz, they call it. So a blitz, and that's where we ended up getting a Airbnb out in in some other area, and we just stomped the ground and knocked the ground. So I watched all these YouTube videos or their Instagram stuff of like the other blitzes they did, and there was in these big luxurious houses, and it was just a party, and it was super fun. And so that's what I'm thinking I'm going for. And I ended up out in Visalia with a couple of teenagers in this 1-bedroom house, sleeping on an air mattress that I had to go pick up at Walmart, on the floor with these kids. And I'm just there for the ride, man. I am there for the ride. But I'm sitting there like laughing to myself at nighttime, sleeping with these guys. And I went and knocked doors for a week there, away from my baby and everything.
Yeah,
and
remember.
That's you'll build some major grit knocking doors.
Yeah, it's true heart. Yeah,
right.
I did it for 6 years.
I know, and you were who I was thinking about when I was knocking on the doors. What would Adrian do? He'd knock that damn door. Okay,
keep going.
I'm building character right now for the rest of my life. Right? Does someone want to work with me? Right? And so, but doing these blitzes it wasn't. I like being home with my family. I like staying there, and also I was immediately started thinking, how can I call center this? How can I call center this? And I started looking into how to get leads and how to be able to sell a deal over the phone, which you can do that.
Right.
But at the same time, I went and checked out this tax company. I'm interviewing all over the place, right?
Right.
And no, I'm not. Yeah. A little bit of a mole, right? Okay, I'm just going and checking these places out, seeing what's going on.
You're trying to figure out what's fitting, right?
I want to feel the buzz, right?
Yeah.
Again, I want to expand my mind, right? And so I go through a few different of these tax companies, and one of them I walked into, it was brilliant. It was impressive. They had a big old sign, and there was people buzzing all over the place. They must have had over 100 people there, and I'm like, there's something going on here. Well, I left, and that same day I got a call from a marketer who I had a relationship back in the day who used to sell me leads for my other business. And he says, hey, what are you doing interviewing at these tax places? And I said, how'd you know that? And he's like, oh, at TRA, you just went and interviewed there, right? And I'm like, yeah, I did, but how did you know? And I'm getting a little creeped out. And he's like, that's my company. It was crazy because at first, when we first met, he was, a marketer that it just kind of seemed a little mysterious, like he didn't have much going on. Maybe he did. Sorry if you have more going on. But to see how monstrous he had become at that point. I mean, he's up at a level where he's going to go compete with Optima, which is the biggest in the industry, in just a short period of time. So I said, hey, I just wanted to, I'm just trying to check and see what's going on. But he knows that I'm a business owner, right? And he's like, what are you doing mulling around here?
Why are you here?
Yeah, exactly. And he's like, why don't we just start one, And I'm like, okay, well, that sounds good, but why would you? Then I started getting a little skeptical. Like, why do you want to start another one? You got such a big operation going, right? And he's like, well, he kind of like, said something about me and my character and that sort of thing, wanting to work with me, and obviously he wants more money and thinks that we can really build something great together. So say no more. We just jump right on it. My partner, he was, Jordan, so he was still wanting to do the mortgage thing, right? And I told him, dude, we're not doing mortgage, bro. We're doing tax. And he had all these plans to go work with someone and start a little net branch to do mortgage. I won the war, got him over here with tax.
Right.
And me and Jordan work well together, so I'm glad that he did make the move.
Yep. And I'm sure he's glad he did not do mortgage.
Right. Right after that.
Oh, yeah. He would have, yeah.
Dove down.
Right. Yeah.
I haven't rubbed that in his face yet, but
I have nothing to do with that, brother.
Right? Yeah, exactly. I made the whole market just go down so that you join me on my new venture. Yeah. No, me and Jordan are a great duo together, so I'm glad that we're working together. So this is the tax industry, and again, so right away, I get a few guys that didn't have much going on at that time that I knew were good salespeople, but just at a a place in their life where they're ready to, could do anything. And I sold them on what we were going to end up doing with Guardian Tax. And I had about 3 or 4 people that started with me, and we all just banged the phones out, right? Got some marketing going, got some inbound calls going, and we just started selling. And we sold together for a few months. And in the beginning, we didn't know what we were doing, right? We did not know what we were doing, when it came down to taxes. We ended up hiring in, first, it's an investigation. So we're able to get people on an investigation, and that's where we reach out with the IRS and figure out what their tax problem is. So we didn't have to know much yet, right? So we had a back end that we were using that was very experienced. Anyone that's watching, just know that we did have a back end that we were using that was very experienced in tax resolution. But on the front end, when we were selling it, we didn't have the full lingo yet. We had probably like 8 salespeople at that time.
Right.
Some new people that were just getting trained up. And then, but last year was our first full year, and it's just been just a rapid growth period, with building out our structure, building out our systems, licensed enrolled. So my last business didn't take any licensed people. Now this business takes, licensed enrolled agents through the IRS and licensed tax preparers, and we're working with the IRS on a daily basis for these programs and to file these taxes through. So to get those highly qualified people that are good and know what they're doing took a long time to vet out and find the right ones that were going to do a great job for our clients.
Right.
And but then building out those systems has been a lot of fun, and it's been new. But our first year we did $4.5 million.
Dude.
$4.5 million in rev.
That's strong.
Very cool.
First year.
First year.
Which was last year.
And
this
so
year,
we started, in December the year before, but yeah.
Right. Yeah. So
year.
one trailing 12,
Uh-huh.
and then what's your guys' goal for the next 12?
We're going for, we're 12 mil this year.
Let's
So
go,
here's
dude.
the growth that we've gotten. So we're able to almost double in size in the space that we have here in Irvine.
Right.
So that's going to help us get to another level. We have a lot of leadership and a lot of management that are in place who are building a lot of different training platforms so that we can get people in and have a seamless training process to get a green person who doesn't know anything that's going on up to speed in the shortest amount of time, so that we can go through as many people to find the real talent, right? Because that's really, you hire 10 people and you're going to get 1 or 2 that are good.
Well, now it's like 1 to 50, but yeah.
Right. Yeah. So we've gotten that process down so that we can get the high level people. But that's here in Orange County. And then as we started this thing off, remember I moved to Arizona.
Right.
And we just started our new office out in Arizona. I got our top guy from out here who moved out to Arizona as well. He's the manager out there, and he's there right now slaying away.
Office is up and running?
Temporary offices up in Tempe overlooking the water, the lake in Tempe. But we got 5 people in there now, all the way through training and on the phones. And we have room for another 4 people to start soon. And so, yeah, it's pumping and it's going.
Dude, let's go.
Yeah.
So if you guys are around the Tempe area of Arizona and you guys are looking for a good sales gig, make sure you hit up Patrick. At the end of this, you'll be able to get his handle to message him. So
Guardian Tax. Yeah,
that's cool. So people go to you that have tax problems, that have like back IRS tax liens. Is what else? How do you
any problem under the sun? I mean, we have a lot of form fills and stuff we get that people are filling out stuff online about their tax problem, and we range from anything. I mean, from the person that just wants to file their taxes, we'll do that for them, simple W-2, 1099, or someone that owes $5,000 or $10,000, and we can help get them the best resolution. Sometimes it's just getting rid of some of the penalties and getting them on a payment plan. Or a settlement with the IRS, depending on what their current, financial situation is, if they're struggling or no job. And then we've gone all the way up to people with $1 million in taxes that they owe to the IRS. And we've been able to settle that type of debt for thousands of dollars sometimes, depending on their current financial situation. Right. Not everybody. Some business owners were able to, get them all dialed in with what they need with the IRS. Whatever the situation is, and like I said, again, we talk to people who are being garnished at their company. They're getting letters from the IRS, scary letters. They don't know what to do. Travel restrictions, bank levies, just all sorts. Everything. You guys know the IRS. They can do anything. Whatever the situation is, Guardian Tax. Yep. We act as a shield between the American taxpayer and the IRS while we work to get the best possible resolution and give them a little bit of peace and comfort, throughout that process, because they're scared. A lot of people.
Yeah. And from someone that's been through it, it's insane. Mm-hmm. They are insane. They're relentless. They'll talk to all your neighbors. Dude. Well, Kellyanne, they came to the house. Kellyanne was walking outside, and they're like, "Do you know Adrian Hernandez?"
Wow.
And Kellyanne
revenue officer.
Yeah, the revenue officer, right here from the IRS building in Lisa Vieja. Right. I learned my lesson. Right. But being someone that's been in it, right? For anybody that's listening, just get yourself out. Yeah. Right. Just get yourself out. Call it a day. Don't try to figure it out on your own. I tried to figure it out on my own. Wasted a whole 12 months. Then had to hire an attorney, and then got it all figured out. Right. That's cool, dude. I love what you guys are doing. What's next? I mean, how do you guys see the next 2, 3? Like, what's the next big move for you guys?
Next big move, I mean, we're just doubling up. So here and then also out in Arizona. We got a lot of room to grow out in Arizona. But yeah, we're looking to double up from where we've been, really nail down our process and systems so that we can be more efficient, increase those margins, right? When you're first growing on startups, margins are a little smaller. And so we're just working on getting those profit margins as high as possible. You don't necessarily, that's another thing, you don't need I can make more money on a smaller business with a better margin than a monster business with, the smaller margins, right?
100%.
And so it's a fine balance in my line of work, because once you get too big, you start losing that efficiency, and so it's a fine balance to just be right there of where that margin is going to max out, before you start getting more headache, more risk, more liability for less money. Right? And I'm not trying to be famous or anything like that. I really want to just make money. Yeah.
No, and it's interesting you say that. We experienced that too. When we were more of a smaller company, it was great, bro. The margins were through the roof, right? And then we started getting big, and then all of a sudden we were making less money,
right?
And we're like, what the hell is going on, right?
Right.
But not only are we making less money, but we're spending more time training people. Now we have more of a revolving door. Now there's not 5 people. Now there's 20 people that are coming in. You have 5 coming in and out consistently, right? Bigger's not always better.
Bigger's not always better. Unless you're trying to, be a king in the market share of that space and be a monster, then maybe you're not so worried about profits and you just want to take all the market share. Yeah. I'm not there.
And I know some people that pockets are good, right? Their bank accounts are good. They have tons of investment properties. They don't need to make the money. So for them, it's just pure domination for them. It's just winning. They just want to know that they kicked everyone's ass.
Right.
Eventually we'll be there.
So where I'm at right now, like you asked, is I'm doing good with making the money, but where I lack in is how to invest the money, right? Me and my wife, we got lucky on the last home that we bought. It's just luck. We bought it. Everything went up. Made a little bit of money. That was cool.
Yeah, that was awesome.
Can't bank on that, But I do really want to invest in real estate long term. Also short-term rentals, flips, things like that. I'm inexperienced. I don't know much about it, which is why I'm going to be relying on Adrian a lot. All right, he's the man.
Is that the long-term plan for you?
Yeah, my long-term plan is how I want, is to build up. For me, I'd like to build up $20,000+ a month in passive income, real passive income.
Right.
Net, exactly. And so, and I'm 34. I got a little ways to go, but that's the goal. I love business. I love making money. I always see myself working for a long time. I also love my family, and really what drives me in this part of my life in terms of being an entrepreneur is I want to be present for my family, really. So I've had to take a lot of time away from the family, but I've also had the flexibility to be there when it mattered. And so taking care of my family long term, getting them I never want to have to go without. I want to give them the schooling that they need, the education that they need, everything that they need in order to set them up. And then I also want to be able to be present, So that's what drives me.
Big. And that present part is so important. So important. I'm before Caden, I didn't realize it, but now with Caden, I'm like, dude, I'll give up any deal to spend more time with them. Like, who cares, right?
Priceless.
It's not always about more money, right? Let's get to where it's good, right? Because we know that money makes things better, right? Anybody that says money doesn't bring happiness simply hasn't had enough of it.
Right.
And I'd much rather cry in a Ferrari than in a Honda. Let's just be honest.
Absolutely.
Right? If I'm going to choose one, I'm going to choose the greater one, right? But being present, right? Because the kid isn't going to remember the Ferrari you owned, or the kid isn't going to remember the amount of doors that his dad bought. The kid is going to remember who was there for him when he needed him, right? Who was present at those moments that he needed somebody to be present.
That's right.
So for every kid, it's so important. And it's interesting as we evolve as human beings, you're seeing that become more of a theme. Because when we were growing up, that wasn't a big theme. Like dads didn't talk about being present. Get the fuck out of here! I need to go to work.
Right.
Like, what are you talking about? Right? Where are my work boots? Right? It's your mom's job, right? Your mom's job is to be present. Your mom's job is to raise you.
That's right.
And as we are becoming greater, which I believe, as we are becoming more conscious human beings, right, we're starting to realize what's more important.
Big time.
Much more important.
Big time. Yeah. What I said, I saw something. Maybe it was something you posted. Someone posted it. And then mothers turn babies into boys, and then fathers turn boys into men. You know, that's pretty cool. Yeah, I like that.
Yeah. I think I'm still a
Being
boy
present.
raising a boy.
Me too, man. Yeah.
Well, I'm just curious, man. What are some parting words for somebody that's listening? Rather that be some motivation to business, rather that be somebody that's struggling, rather that be on an addiction, just something that comes to your heart. Some parting words.
Okay, so like I said, one of the biggest lessons that I've learned was, it's easy to have that confidence when the wheels are still going, right? When your business is still going, you can load as much weight as you want on the trailer, right? As long as the wheels are turning. Once they stop, it's hard to get it going again. So I paid a big price by letting everything stop in 2020 and just shutting the doors, thinking that I was going to be able to do anything later on. It was a hard move to get back into the grind later on, and it just made me think about that, saying if you're not growing, you're dying, right? So
good.
Keep the ball moving, don't stop. Yeah,
So good, dude.
that's one thing. And then again, if you're struggling with addiction or alcoholism or anything like that, there is a way out where you never have to drink or use again. There is. Not everyone's ready for the solution. I wasn't ready for a very long time. It takes what it takes in order to get there. I needed every little bit of pain and suffering and experience out there that I got before I was ready to finally take action and ask for help. So don't give up. And that's about it.
So good, dude. For those people that want to follow you, contact Guardian Tax. How do they get a hold of you?
Guardian Tax, guardiantax.com. I mean, we're not big on social media. You can see the Guardian Tax on Instagram. I'd like to get there one of these days. Reaching out for my help in terms of, the recovery type stuff, or if you do want a job and you want to reach that next level of potential in your sales ability, we'd love to hear from you. But I'm _ Patrick Johnson _
Patrick Johnson _ that's on Instagram.
Right.
All right, cool. I want to challenge you to contact the Patrick Johnson that has Patrick Johnson and buy
Right.
the handle from
Right.
him. It's important.
That's good. Yeah.
Dude, today was emotional yet inspiring. I just want to thank you so much for being on the show, man. It was an absolute honor. You guys make sure that you go back, watch this again, pick up. I mean, I know I'm going to listen to this at least 15, 30, 40, 50 times. There's just so much in there that I need to learn from you, that I'm learning from you. So just thank you. You guys make sure you are following Patrick. And if you're watching this on YouTube, hit that subscribe button. If you are on any podcast, you guys make sure you give us a 5-star rating. Leave a review. What we're going to be doing is doing a big giveaway at the end of these next 60 days. And so we're going to be drawing whoever leaves a beautiful comment. So make sure you do that below. Again, Patrick, today was beautiful, brother. Thank you so much, man.
Right on.
Love you, man.
Thank you very
See
much.
you soon.
Love you too.
Yeah.